Hello everyone, long time no see, and happy 2026! I'm like 3 months late, but whatever. I've had a very busy start of the year, so I haven't had much time to do YouTube until now, but I'm back. And today I'm going to share with you my commissions process. I finished a commission at the end of December and haven't shared the footage, so I thought this video would be a good opportunity to show y'all how I do commissions, in case anyone else is interested in getting into them. I know I had a lot of questions about the best way to go about all this when I was a newer artist, so I hope some of my experiences are helpful to you. But yeah, that's enough of an intro. Let's get into the speed paint! Yippee! I'm so back! Let's go! So today I'll be talking about why I do commissions, how I do commissions, and what to keep in mind if you're thinking about starting them. But before all that, I'll introduce this commission in particular, so it's not just some random speed paint happening in the background. The person who commissioned me wanted me to draw a showman-type character with a TV head, sort of in the style of Hazbin Hotel. Her clothes and accessories are similar to a circus ringleader in aesthetic, and she's got a red, gold, and black color palette. I haven't painted a suit in a while, nor have I ever drawn a TV-headed character, so this was a really fun prompt to get to draw. If you're watching this, thanks again for commissioning me. It was super great to work with you. Alright, so let's get on to the main topics for today, starting with why you should do commissions. Obviously, the main reason is to make money. If you want to make money doing your art, commissions is a good option. It's a pretty big reason why I started, and I don't get commissioned that often, but it's nice to have some extra pocket money once in a while. I know there are artists that make a living off of commissions in their online shop, but I am on the hobby side of art, so if you're looking for advice on that, that is not me. I'm not really trying to push my commissions super hard. I leave them open pretty much all the time, so it's nice when I get one, but if not, I'll just draw personal stuff, so, I'm drawing no matter what. Another good reason for commissions is that it allows you to stretch your artistic muscles. This was actually something I was quite worried about at first because I was worried about getting a request that wasn't within my wheelhouse or within my abilities at all. First of all, if that happens to you, you can always just decline the commission. That is always an option. But usually the person commissioning you already has a good idea of what you're capable of doing, and they've commissioned you for a reason. Take this commission for instance. If someone hadn't requested that I draw a TV-headed circus-esque character, I probably wouldn't have ever had the opportunity to draw anything even remotely close to this. And it turned out to be a really informative speed paint or process because I got to paint textures that I normally wouldn't otherwise, and just create a character that I never would have thought of myself. So yeah, other than making money, I think commissions are a great opportunity to stretch your artistic muscles. Of course, that doesn't mean I'll draw anything that a commissioner requests, and that's a good enough way to segue to set good enough. I'm gonna talk about how I do my commissions now. I use a platform called Artistry, which is a really convenient way to connect artists and commissioners in a way that the artist is less likely to be scammed, which we love. Not sponsored, but, would be nice, right? There are a lot of platforms like this, so I'm not necessarily recommending this one, but I am recommending you use one like it, because hosting commissions independently on social media sites will have the bots and scammers flying to your posts. It's annoying, and I do not recommend that. So here's how Artistry works. You set up your profile with terms of service, which are optional, but I recommend, and then your portfolio. My terms of service are pretty exhaustive because I want a commissioner to know exactly what they're getting into before they request me. Mine are mainly about the process, pricing, payment and delivery, copyright, and then things I will/will not draw. Though honestly, I'm pretty loose on the will/will nots. Then you have your portfolio to show commissions of drawings you've done in the past. My commissions are mostly about character designing, so I focus pretty heavily on character sheets, but I do also have a portrait option for variety. It's really all up to you on how you want to organize things. As you can see, I have a pretty wide variety of pricing options as well. For example, my full character sheets run from $70 to $120 USD, depending on the complexity of the character and the number of elements requested. Something like this sheet with multiple characters, portraits, and their weapons will run for something like 120, while the commission I'm drawing here was, I think, 100 USD. I know pricing is one of those things that is a big conversation with getting started, setting up your own commissions. It's something I'm still figuring out, to be honest, but I would advise that first and foremost, you should value your art and your time when considering your own pricing options. If you're a small artist like me, people who are commissioning you are likely to already be your fans of your art, and they're likely going to understand the time and effort that goes into pieces that you make because they've already interacted with your content. If someone is hemming and hawing about your prices, saying they're too expensive, that's their problem, and it's probably not worth dealing with those people anyways, because it's just going to be difficult for the whole thing. I'm also someone who draws pretty slowly, and it just takes me a lot of time to get through a commission. I can't just sit down and just whip something out like this in like an hour, and I honestly just can't sit down and do something straight like this. I usually work in 45-minute to an hour increments, so definitely keep that in mind as well, because if you work more slowly, then obviously it takes more time to do a commission, and that could also affect your pricing. As far as when to ask for payment, Artistry requires that the commissioner pays upfront, which I really appreciate because then you know you're going to get paid. I think having a system where it's half upfront and half afterwards is also fine, just so long as you don't let them pay fully at the end, because that is a recipe for not getting paid fully or paid at all. Also, with Artistry, refunds are an option. I had one commission a while back that the process just wasn't really going the way the commissioner wanted to, so we decided to just do a simplified piece, and I refunded a portion of the initial price. Things like that can and likely will happen, so it's nice that that's an option. Obviously, if they were requesting a full refund, that would not be happening because of the time and effort I'd already spent. But the commissioning process for me is very much a collaborative process, so it's not the end of the world if something like this happens. If you are considering starting commissions on Artistry, the one thing I will warn you about is that the vetting process takes a pretty long time, or at least it did for me. After you make your portfolio and everything, Artistry checks it and clears it to begin to be advertised on the site itself through like the search function. I'm pretty sure they say it only takes a couple weeks, but mine definitely took like a couple months. I think your profile is still active though, it's just not in the search function, so you can still share your portfolio directly to your socials and commissioners can find you that way. It's just that your portfolio won't be visible through the search function of the site until Artistry vets it. I think that's about all I want to say about my own process and Artistry. It's pretty customizable, easy and free to use, and doesn't take a cut of your commission, so I'd recommend it for anyone who's thinking about starting commissions but worried about getting scammed for doing it independently. Art in 2026 is just a lot. It's a lot to handle. But if you have any other questions about how I do things, please feel free to comment below. I love to yap, so I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. Now I'm going to talk about things you should keep in mind when doing commissions. Two of them I've pretty much already talked about, and those are that people, aka bots, will try to scam you if you post about your commissions on pretty much any social media. If they DM you directly on the social media site and don't interact with you on your own commission site, yeah, they're not legit. You can pretty much always guess that they're just not a real person. I also already talked about pricing, so just remember to value your time and your own creations when considering what prices to set. The last thing I think is really important to think about is setting hard boundaries about editing and your process. This is something that I didn't think about at first, and it's really important to establish so that you're not having to make major changes after each whip you send to your commissioner, because that can triple the time a commission takes, at least for me. Personally, I allow big edits during the drafting phase, which is pretty much anything pre-line art, and 2 to 3 minor edits during the phases after that. To me, major changes include significant edits to the outfit, pose changes, and any large additional elements, whereas minor changes are color changes, so long as I haven't started overpainting, expression changes, and small outfit changes. I've found that the best way to avoid having to do a lot of edits in the later stages of the piece is by having a very extensive drafting phase. Take this commission that I'm currently working on. After accepting the request, I first drafted 3 possible outfits. They chose the elements they liked best from these choices, and I combined them to make a more finalized outfit. Then I moved on to possible color palettes and possible poses for the actual commission itself. This sort of drafting takes some time, but it's really helpful to establish the outfit, pose, and palette early on. Of course, this process also depends on how many reference photos your commissioner provides. Some people like to leave it up to the artist, while others have a very clear vision of the outfit and pose they want their characters to have, so it does really depend on a case-by-case basis. So far, everyone I've worked with has been really nice in terms of my process, making edits in the commission timeline, but I still think it's a good idea to have rules established ahead of time in case someone decides to push you on them. It's never fun to send a final piece for approval and then get told that the hand placement isn't what the commissioner wants, because no one likes to redraw hands. I've never had something happen to me like that, but I can imagine that it's just not something you want to happen. If you're thinking about starting it, why not? Everyone I've worked with has been really nice and understanding about my process, and I've never had a bad interaction, so, it may seem scary at first, but it's fun. It can be informative for your art process. I'd recommend it if you're on the fence about doing it. It's just like starting a YouTube. If you're on the fence, why not? What's the worst that could happen? But yeah, I hope this video was informative to you. If you have any questions about my process or this piece or just anything, book recommendations, please ask me for book recommendations. I would love to answer those questions in the comments. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!